Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today, my guest is Ketan Patel. Ketan is a high-performance coach who helps motivated real estate entrepreneurs create more income and impact by aligning their thoughts, emotions, and actions. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Ketan about transforming real estate entrepreneurs into peak performers. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CRE PN Radio, there are a couple things you can do. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we'd encourage you to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you'd like to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. And you can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Ketan. Welcome to CRE PN Radio.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you so much for the opportunity and excited to be on the show and connect with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. But before we get started, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Sure. So basically, I'm an immigrant from India. I came here when I was 19. I wasn't even speaking English, got my doctor of pharmacy, started practicing pharmacy, and realized that my heart is in investments and real estate. The passive income is such a critical piece. So I started buying small multifamilies, slowly got into the syndication and senior care business and whatnot, eventually to realize that the mindset is the thing that excites me most. The thoughts, emotions, and actions we play with it have so much impact on the success of our business, how good we feel, the fulfillment, and overall picture. So then I transition into the high performance coach, and I still have my real estate practice where I allocate funds to multifamily investments from my investors.
Awesome. So you arrived here at 19, not speaking English?
Yes.
Wow. And then you went on to get your PhD in pharmacy?
Yes.
That's a pretty impressive feat there. I'm impressed. And then while after doing all that education,
Yep.
because how many years of college is the PhD in pharmacology?
So normally it's 6 years, but I did an accelerated program for 4.5 years.
In 4.5 years?
Yes.
And is that from starting your undergrad to your PhD, or is that just the PhD?
So normally it's a doctorate program, doctor of pharmacy, that goes from high school to 6 years, or some people do a 4-year bachelor's and then they do the 3 years add. What I did is I went in undergrad and I realized that it doesn't make sense just to take more classes, and I transferred into, because of the GP and all of the factors, I was able to transfer into the other program without the undergrad requirement, and I was able to get that finished.
Good for you. That's awesome. So you do that, and that's an accelerated program, and you work your tail off to get that done.
Yep.
You get out into the real world. You're a pharmacist. Is that
Yes.
okay? And for how long did you act as a pharmacist before you realized you wanted to get into real estate?
So I practiced for about 3 to 4 years, and in the beginning, everything is good and it's fine. But I started asking myself questions, and one of the question was, if I still remember that night, I'm like, what if they pay me $1 million a year, ask me to drink as much coffee as I want, and don't even come to work when you want and leave when you want? You don't even need to worry about working 40 hours. You could work 2 hours a week. Would I do the job? And my immediate answer was no. And I was surprised at my own hypothetical question. And then I realized that my values are about freedom, are about creativity, innovation, taking risk, supporting people in a different capacity. And these values are not really jiving with the environment. And I'm like, if I don't tackle this thing now, what is the point of life if you are not really expressing your values and getting the fulfillment? There is no end goal where, everything's just going to magically click. And that really made me think and, start going into another direction.
So let me ask you, because I think it's a real critical question that you were able to uncover or realize about yourself. The values, was it more of the corporate culture? Was it what was it that you realized was incongruent with where you were aligned?
Sure. So a lot of the things too. First of all, the actual work would be somewhat monotonous, and then the corporate environment. I wasn't really. The medications have their use in the society, but I'm seeing that the patients really could use other modalities and things. But the whole world that was created was all about just more and more prescriptions, and people need the quick fix, and it's not really doing what it's supposed to, and so you're part of a thing that's, we need the pharmacy, we need the pharmacists, and we need the medical system. But I realized, and me growing up in India, I realized people don't have access to medical care, and yet everybody's happy for no reason. Something just doesn't make sense. And I grew up there, and I didn't really had all of the conveniences and things, and life was great. And here I am, a pharmacist, making good money, living in Boston. I have everything, but it just, you don't feel that excited. Like what's going on, right? So I knew that the answer is you kind of have to go within to figure out what's going on, and it kind of started the discovery.
All right. So now you realize that you're at a crossroads.
Yes.
What you're trained for and what you're doing aren't meeting your inner needs.
Yep.
Um, how did you arrive at real estate as the answer?
So I tried a bunch of things first. I was trying to ship aluminum containers. I had a business to do the export and on-call pharmacy, but somehow I just realized that real estate, it just makes sense. And I've started reading a lot of books, and I didn't do anything with it for a year or two, but eventually I'm like, I have to put all this knowledge to use, and let me just buy one property. So I bought my first single family with two friends, but the challenge was I had no money for the down payment. And I asked myself, is my dream that important? Do I believe in the possibilities of my life? If I do, I'm going to come up with a solution. So what I did is I basically lived on credit cards for 2 3 months, and every dollar from paycheck I pumped into 401k that the company was matching, and I took a loan against that amount to basically get the down payment to buy the single family.
Oh, look at you, creative financing. I love
Creative finance.
that. Oh, that's great. So, so you realize real estate as the potential for the what you were looking for. Lifestyle. I mean, was it lifestyle, or was it more of like a vehicle for a secure future, or what was it that you?
Sure. So in the beginning, it felt like owning properties, it's a passive thing. And if I'm owning properties and the passive income is coming, I wouldn't have to rely on the job. And then I could figure out what I want to do with my life, another business or something like that. So I was like, the number one goal is to create even the littlest possible income, and just kind of test it out. So it was more of that passive income, starting it on the side.
Gotcha. So a side hustle, passive
Yeah.
income kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you get the first one.
Yeah.
How do you go from there into, because you mentioned syndication, and there's a pretty big gap between being a partner in one single family and syndication here. What was your path?
So the path was, after that first single unit property, my partners, they weren't interested in buying more properties, but I went on and I bought a couple more properties, 3 unit, 4 unit, and then I realized one day that the math to really replace my pharmacist income and the dream of being financially free doesn't really make sense with real estate. So I went on and bought a senior care business. And 1 year I turned the business around where I replaced my income. I only have to work like 5 hours a week. And I was like, wow, this is what all the fuss is about financial freedom. It doesn't seem like all the questions are answered. And then, I was somewhat bored with that business because I overcame the challenges, did my thing. And then I realized that all the time and energy that goes into buying these single family and triple family properties is just not efficient, first. And second, people started reaching out to me. They wanted to invest with me because I'm finding great deals. And I realized I can't bring like a lot of people into one deal, right? And all the pharmacist friends I knew and doctors I knew, everybody who's professional, they want to invest. And I'm like, okay, I have that problem. I have problem of scale. So let me jump into the apartment syndication business. And that's how I led into transition. And I didn't have to worry about making money or income because the senior care business is just taking care of me and it didn't need it much of my time.
Got it. So that senior care business sounds like it really gave you some freedom
Yes.
there to try new things more so than work a second job. Is that fair?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So now it sounds like you've got friends and colleagues that are seeing your success and they're wanting in,
Yep.
and they started offering you to invest, and then you grew into syndication. Is
Yes.
that where? Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about this because I mean, clearly I was talking with somebody earlier, and I want to say that the number that was mentioned was like 95% of people have never invested in an income producing property.
Yes.
And so let's look at that. And if we say if only 5% of people invest in an income producing property, I'm going to say the vast majority of those are not peak performers.
Yes.
They're investing.
Yes. Yes.
So you got in and you recognize the ability to really make something out of the real estate investment. What it what do you see? What did you do? What was it mindset wise? How did you get there? What do you see when you see a peak performer in real estate?
So first of all, what I realized once I got into the syndication business that there are no secrets. It's the way you think and act. And if I really and I was more interested in that than actually growing my business. So I've spent more than $150,000 in the last 2-3 years going to all the events from Dr. Joe Dispenza to Tony Robbins, having coaches and going with Wim Hof and everything to unravel the psychology, because I realized that the information's out there, books and podcasts and things on how to buy the property and what to do. Everybody has access to the same information. Why are certain people able to make it happen? What's different about them versus people who are feeling stuck, which was me at one point. I kept going round and round. I wasn't making the decision. I was just like scared of moving through things. And it really made pique my interest into performance and psychology and emotions and all of these things, right? So doing all of that work over the years and my own experience, I came to the conclusion that there are 5 fundamentals if you want to take your real estate investing business, whatever you do, hotels or multifamily or storage, whatever your strategies, if you want to take it to peak performance, there are these 5 fundamentals, right? And we'll go over it briefly because it's a lot of stuff, but I'll give you a quick overview. So fundamental number one is we need the clarity and focus. People just don't have that clarity. You need to be very, very focused into, okay, my outcomes are here. And to get to these outcomes, this is what I need to do. This is what I lack. This is what I have. You need to be clear. In the beginning, what happens is we run any way we see the opportunity. We just don't have that focus. Once you have that, then you need a game plan. You need a strategy to execute all that, make that real. And once you have mapped out that strategy on a macro level, what I need to do for a whole year and what I need to do on a daily basis, what are my goals and milestones, then you need an execution plan. You need to make sure you're executing your strategy, the feedbacks that you are getting by executing your plan, you need to keep changing it. So sometimes people would keep hunting for the property in this market for 8 months. And I asked them, okay, what is something new that you tried in 30 days? The answer is nothing. If you are talking to the same agents, using the same language, or having the same strategy for your business, you're getting the feedback it's not working, it's time to change. And then it comes the leverage. You have to leverage the time, you have to leverage your network, you have to leverage your emotions, the peak performance techniques. And then the number five thing, if you are stuck in any of those things, it's because you have limiting beliefs and you have fears. Everybody has it. We just have to overcome. Once you systematically know what your roadblock is, right? So some people are good with clarity and strategy, they can't execute it. Some people are great at taking action and running, but they can't form the overall picture. So once you put these five components, you really could tap a lot of your potential. And I could see that for me to raise all this money and run that senior care business on 5 hours a week, it's just the same principles over and over.
No, that's really kind of simple the way you broke it down there like that. I'm sure that as you get in each one, there's multiple levels of degrees of clarity or the ability to execute. But I think that one of the challenges we have in this day and age is the information. There's so much information out there, and you mentioned about clarity and focus. I mean,
Yes.
I know on many a day I start off with a very specific goal, and I'm very clear in what the goal for the day is, and
Yes.
yet just can be overwhelmed by outside information or outside attention seeking devices, uh,
Yes.
if I'm not disciplined enough to keep them out. So how, if somebody is of this mindset, and they're working towards this, whatever their goal is, whether it be to acquire a property or multiple properties or raise money, whatever that might be. Um, how does discipline fit in all this?
Okay. So very, very important piece that you just mentioned is that what happens is our brain is very efficient at doing something that we tell it to do. So we have trained our mind to be distracted by opening the emails and jumping from tab to tab and checking the notification on the phone. And if you have done it long enough, it's being doing it automatically. So the step number first would be to aware of where are you wasting your time, what are you doing, the things that are not serving you. Some cases you're aware, some cases you're not aware, and you have to start retraining yourself. So for example, for me, my business, you don't really get urgent phone calls. So certain hours of the day or in the morning, my phone's on do not disturb. So unless somebody calls you 2 times and I have all of my notifications off, I put it aside. I don't check my email. I look at my work mode and I have a time block for the 2 hours. What is the most important thing I need to do today in this 2 hours? Forget about everything else and everybody else. For me, that day could be preparing a client proposal, or working on some presentation for a webinar, doing whatever, and everybody would have that specific. So what happens is if you make it simple, then your brain could focus. But when you don't make it simple, then it's just like, well, I have to call the broker, I have to talk to the bank, I have to do this, I have to do that. It gets so confused. You're thinking, you know what, I'd rather be distracted than actually solve that thing. So you go back to emails, just checking things, doing unnecessary things that could have waited for end of the day. So it would be just retraining yourself, having systems in place for your business. And that's what I work with people to kind of implement one thing at a time, so that way your chances are better.
No, that sounds like you know a very solid, simple plan. And I'm curious, how long do you find that it takes for people to kind of retrain their brain? If you're all caught
Sure.
up in all your social media and all the
Sure. So depending on the person and your intensity, anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, definitely. And the first week or two, it's challenging because your mind releases dopamine. Every time you open that email, that ping comes. So now you have a circuitry. And I've studied a little bit of neuroscience behind this. The circuitry is just like a highway, super highway that's been built and paved, and you are running car on it all day long. So it wants it really bad. So you will have to have that will to stop it. And then once you do it for a few days or a week or two, it's just going to become less. You are carving a new road now, new neural network and nodes to basically not do that and do the new habit or routine.
So, you start by breaking the habits of
Yes,
the interruption or whatever, the lack of focus. Try and gain some focus, get
yes,
some clarity on what you're wanting to achieve.
yes.
And as a game plan, if we have our goal, how often are you um, reviewing the goal and making certain that you're staying on course, or adjusting if you need to? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So I'm a little extreme on this angle, but so what I would do is, for me, it's I have a meditation practice where every evening I'm just reviewing how was my day, where did I act emotionally, who was I being today. So it's basically like if you think of a football coach showing the player the tape of how you are playing, and if you see yourself as from the outside, you will really learn a lot. So even if you in the beginning, when I didn't knew all this information, I used to take one day a week, go to my favorite coffee shop for 2 hours, shut my phone, and I'll really think, what did I do this week? Where did I spend time? What were wins for me? What was connections I made? What are things I did that was moving me in the direction I wanted to? And what are the things that I avoided? Having reflection will really make you aware. So then the following week, you will catch yourself. If you have done this practice every week, and if every week your thing comes as, yes, this week I just watched too much TV, or this week I just keep opening unnecessary emails, whatever, everybody's different. But once you rewire yourself every week, following week you'll be careful. You'll be like, oh, I tend to do this thing, I need to stop it. So it's opening that awareness.
No, that's good. I mean, kind of a mental cue, and just the fact that you're aware of it. It sounds like it's kind of really if you're aware of it, you can't not be aware of it. Kind of
Yes,
thing that you're wasting your time there.
yes, 100%.
So you work through and you get your clarity and you get your game plan, and you start working on the execution, and there's this kind of a continuous kind of a review reflection of, are you moving forward, where can you improve or try something different. You mentioned leveraging your time and your network. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the limiting beliefs,
Yes,
because I think that the two things that you bookended the five steps with, clarity and the limiting beliefs, seem to me to be very related.
yes,
In that, if I'm not clear on what I want, how can I even begin? And if I'm not clear, I mean, or if I have limiting beliefs, how can I get there? Kind of thing. Can you speak a little bit to the limiting beliefs, and how we do limit ourselves, and how we can remove that, and reframe that?
absolutely. That's a huge, huge part of my work, and what I'm passionate about is what happens is belief is just a thought that we have thought about so many times that it has become real. And the challenge is most of the times we are not even aware of it. So if we tell somebody, hey, somebody's thinking, I want to own $1 million worth of real estate, but deep down they are not aware of it, but they are thinking, you know what, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the money, or who am I to do this. Some kind of chatter's going there, and when you believe that, naturally you're not going to take action, naturally you're not going to go to an event or read a book. But if you believe that, you know what, I'm not perfect, I don't have the strategy, but I think it's possible, let me try it. If that's your belief, you're going to do something with it. So I'll give you an example. The senior care business, I was spending the 40 hours a week, because my belief was, and I had 30, 40 employees. And I was like, if I'm not here every day, how can I really run this business? That was my limiting belief until I hung out with a family friend for a weekend. He had 70 or 80 different companies, 70 or 80 different businesses. I'm like, he's not there. Like, what's happening there? You need a reference experience, right? He invalidated my belief. And then I started doing the research and whatnot. And eventually I shifted that. And I knew that my most important part is making sure employees are happy, clients are taken care of, and business is running. Does it really matter if I'm there 10 hours a week or 40 hours a week? It doesn't. But it's just these beliefs that we have about, well, if I was young, I could have pulled this off. Or somebody who's young, that they are thinking, I'm only 25. How can I buy like a multi-million dollar property? Or, I didn't go to good school and I grew up in this neighborhood, whatnot. Who am I to do it? So the thing is, first of all, you have to be aware of what that belief is. And if you are not, I will ask you, what is your wild dream? Something that you feel scared to even think about. Real estate, non-real estate. And the moment you think, and I ask you, why can't you have it? That's the limiting belief gonna pop up. Because I don't have the knowledge, or because I don't have the time, XYZ, whatever that situation is, right? So the step one is for you to be aware of your limiting beliefs. And once you are aware, 50% of the battle is won. Now we could do something with it. We could reprogram that belief.
No, and it seems to follow that if you believe it's possible,
Yeah.
you are naturally going to present yourself to others in a different light than if you believe that it's impossible.
Yes.
And that if the mindset that you've been able to overcome is that I am capable, I'm going to figure this out, that will naturally, that belief that you have would come up in conversation, and in whether it be the, whatever it is that you're naturally doing to get to that goal, it would be apparent to others that you're in associated with, that you are headed in a direction, and that would all kind of manifest itself based on, this, you've gone from I can't to I can. I'll bet I can do this. Um,
Absolutely.
so tell me about, what kind of a time frame would you expect? What would be I mean, if somebody said that they wanted to own $10 million in real estate, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what a goal is. I don't know how to put a timer, but how should one measure one's progress towards, if I set a goal that I want to have a million, I want to have $10 million tomorrow, and I've got nothing today, that's probably not realistic, and it's probably not going to happen. But something that's realistic, and I can set with some sort of progress, and I can see, I think, reflecting on where I was and where I am would be that much more empowering to see that I have made progress and I'm moving towards it. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. So as human beings, the biggest thing is progress equals happiness. When we are moving, even though we don't have the property or the goal, but the act of going towards it, it's fulfilling. And the goal, so when I was 26, I was like, by the time I'm 30, I want $1 million in real estate or the financial freedom, whatnot. When you get there, your mind is going to give you another goal to kind of put you in another direction, right? So the important part is to, the difference between the goal and dream is most people just have the dream. They haven't really done any action on it. So if I have a dream of owning $10 million worth of real estate, and then if I start thinking about it, okay, what do I want to do about it? Let me pick the first book. That becomes a goal the moment I do some action around it, right? And like you said, you want to chunk it down, that if my goal is to do that in 2 years, what do I need to do today? What do I need to do next week and next month? It's okay having aggressive goal, but if you're not taking actions right now in the near future, that's just going to be a goal in the past. And you know what's going to happen? Once you progress slowly, you will love the feeling of making progress, and you will forget about the goal. If you will get so much into you're having so much fun, doing whatever it is that you're passionate about, rehabbing properties or buying hotels, whatever. And then that's when magic happens, because now you don't care, you're not tied to making it happen, you're just having so much fun with your day to day.
No, it is I guess the charge that one gets from moving forward and just feeling alive as opposed to, you know, sitting on the couch watching TV. Um, that's all good. I appreciate you going through this. Kind of curious, can you speak to kind of the average person that you've worked with and see how they've been able to progress and maybe an example of somebody that's been able to has worked with you?
Yeah, sure. So I have clients from, I have doctors and surgeons that love buying properties on the side. And then I have people who are in software and they want to quit their job and make this happen. So everybody comes from all over the place. But the big work is around the limiting beliefs. Because if somebody starts, I make them realize, that belief is just not sound. And at the end of the day, you could believe in whatever you want to. My only question is that belief powering you or disempowering you? So if you believe that, you know what, maybe I'll try this, maybe it'll work, it's giving you a hope, a power, you'll do something, which is a better belief versus, well, this is never going to happen to me, or who am I to make that happen? That doesn't give you any power, any energy, any good feelings, right? So the work would be to shift the mindset, the psychology. And once that is shifted, the actual stuff, everybody could read books and go to podcasts and figure out the technical numbers on how the property works and what to do and what not to do. And everybody is different. So my job is to kind of figure out on the five elements we talked about, what is really going there. If they are good, they have all this plan, why are they not taking action? They are not taking action because they believe XYZ. They believe that this is not going to work. If you believe something's not going to work, why would you bother, right? You would be like, I don't want to do it. Or people, including me, and I've gone through all of these challenges big time. Like I've like gone round and round, and I'm making things complicated. I'm overthinking it, which happens a lot with, the intellectual over analytical people, some of my clients, and then you just keep going round and round into that pattern, right? So it's just me and watching them from outside to see what's not working, and working together to shift those things, because once it's fundamentally shifted, your behavior would start changing. You'll take different actions, and when you take different actions, good chances you'll get different results, which will reaffirm that belief, and it'll create like a cycle.
That is breaking the chains and then reinforcing the habit and making progress. It's awesome. That's a
Yep.
good thing. So, hey, Keaton, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second. By day, I'm an insurance broker, and I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we consider. The first is we look to see, can we avoid the risk? Then we look to see if we can minimize the risk. And if we can neither avoid nor minimize, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is, a risk transfer um, vehicle. And I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation, whether it be their clients, investors, tenants, the market. You decide how you want to frame the question. But I like to ask my guests if they can consider or if they can identify what they consider to be the biggest risk.
Yep.
And for clarification, I'm not looking for an insurance related answer. Um, but if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Ketan Patel,
Yep.
what is the biggest risk?
Sure. It's a great question. So basically, for me, my business Muki Capital, I do underwrite deals conservatively. I have very conservative outlook. So for me, the biggest risk is not getting the variety of investments to my investors. I work with one or two sponsors. I really, really limit everything because I just don't see the quality deals out there in the market that meets the criteria I want them to meet. So for me, the biggest risk has been finding additional sponsors that are, giving a little bit more variety to the business, and to minimize it, I'm doing what I can and taking actions and changing the strategies.
No, that's a challenge right now. I think there's lots of people competing and stuff, and staying disciplined, and like you said, leveraging your network and staying in touch with people. That's um, you know, it, you got to do it all to find the good opportunity. So that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, Keaton, I want to say thanks for taking the time to talk. Before we wrap up, where can the listeners go if they'd like to connect or learn more?
Sure. So listeners could go to my website, ketanpatel.com, and I have free resources. I have a little more details on the five things we talked about, and I have some free training, and that's Ketan Patel, Patel.com.
All right. Well, Keaton, I've enjoyed our talk today. I've learned a lot, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you for the opportunity to spread my message. This was a fun conversation. Thank you.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.